Good afternoon. It is early January and holidays are behind us. People are starting to get back into the swing of things. My kid went back to school this week and wanted to talk a little bit about how the real estate market ended in 2023, kind of my outlook for 2024 as well. You can see behind me, it is a beautiful day here. It is sunny. We've had a couple of rainy days here over the weekend, but we're back up to about 68 degrees here. Which is a far better try than this headline that I just read. A polar vortex is just the beginning. January's weather forecast is chaotic and dangerous. So unfortunately for those of you living up north still, it looks like this could be a bad winter. Good news for us down here is that typically does trigger buyers to start making decisions about getting into the warmer weather for at least the winter months here. Interest rates, since we've last spoke to, they've actually come down quite a bit. So right now, if I look at this headline here, it says mortgage demand jumps nearly 10% to start the year, even as interest rates tick up again. And by tick up again, they were down probably under 7. So this article here shows that they were at 6.81%, up from 6.76. So a far cry from almost 8%, not more than two months ago. So lower interest rates should help us quite a bit as well. So how did we end up the year last year? So if you look at this first graph here, it shows that our inventory has definitely grown quite a bit from the low, and so but you can see here too. It is still well below what a normal January or December would look like, and so despite there being quite a bit more on the market right now, it is still well below historical lows. I actually went back 10 years on this rather than the typical 5 years that I do, just to kind of show you that example. And sales for December of 2023 are down about 8% from the prior year, which is not a great comp because if you recall, December last year, we were still working on cleaning up from the hurricane. So being down from a pretty down number last year, that's not a great way to end the year. Next up, if you look at the sales price versus the days to sell, and so we're down about 11.5% of sales price from the peak of April, May of 2022, and the time to sell right now is about 34 days. So and I see that continuing to increase as well. Again, if you look at the graph, the average days to sell in the past over the past 10 years is probably somewhere in that 40 to 50 days. So I anticipate that we'll see that continue to move up as well. And then for pricing, I wanted to save that and kind of talk about the individual markets that we serve, because it varies quite a bit from market to market. So why don't we start with Fort Myers? Fort Myers is probably the healthiest market, I would say. So if you look at pricing, it's pretty flat. And so, you calculate down from the peak days, it's not too far off from the peak. But if you also look at the inventory, it's still historically low. You're looking at all of this inventory here. We're not even close to that in Fort Myers yet. So, it looks like prices are going to remain relatively steady in Fort Myers until we either get more inventory on the market. Fort Myers is still a pretty good market right now. Fort Myers Beach and Sandcap, both of these are pretty similar. Their prices for Fort Myers Beach, prices are down about 28% from the peak. And then if you look at Sandcap, prices are down also about 25% from peak. So you see big drops on both of these from the peak to the current pricing. A lot of the homes that are still on the market are damaged or still need repairs, but both of those markets look pretty similar. So they've had a pretty decent price reduction. Cape Coral, let's take a look at that. So unlike the other markets, inventory is actually pretty darn close to what historically they should be at this time of the year, which is a little unusual compared to the surrounding areas. And so, and prices are down from the peak about 12%. So not as much as they were down on Fort Myers Beach and on Sandcap. So that's interesting. But if you take a closer look at this, And this is the first area that I really see that there may be some challenges coming up for Cape Coral. If you look at this, there are 375 homes right now on the market that are over 995,000. And so that currently is a 29-month supply. And so something's going to have to give in the higher end at Cape Coral. So 375, if we didn't add another home to the market, it would take us 29 months to get through that inventory. So I do see some challenges coming up for the higher end in Cape Coral. Looking forward, what does 2024 bring? This is an election year, and so historically, second half of the year is going to be slower just because people are kind of taking a wait-and-see approach to see, what side of the country is going to be unhappy with the election results. So I see a big slowdown come September, October, November, and December. I think people will be on the sidelines till 2025, and so with the snowstorm up north, the interest rates starting to come back down to what people are hoping for, I do think we could have a decent season, the first half of the year. So that's kind of my outlook. Any questions? Please give me a call. Frank Ehrhardt, John R. Wood Properties, Christie's International, and look forward to seeing you down in sunny Florida sometime soon.